Hey guys, it's Chris. From rocks in space full of gold to distant planets covered in diamonds, here are 8 of the most valuable places in the universe. Number 8. The Moon. If you were to look up at the Moon, you might think that its value lies in the potential of humanity living on the surface via colonies, and you would be right. A great deal of value is in that. However, as the study of the Moon, specifically via the landings on the Moon and the analysis of the Moon rocks and other materials brought back from it continued, it was discovered that the Moon had even more to offer than glory or pride via the space race. According to NASA and other agencies, there are hundreds of billions of dollars in untouched minerals on the Moon right now. As such, NASA and other government agencies are working to figure out how not just to get to the Moon, but to start mining it in order to get its resources. There was even a study done to try and indicate not just the cost of doing such a thing, but also what the profit margin would be. The study has identified a near-term annual demand of 500 tons of lunar-derived propellant, equating to 2,700 tons of processed lunar water, generating $2.4 billion in revenue annually. That's a lot of money, and thus, if the cost can be kept down, the profit of the venture could be huge. Other things that NASA and other agencies believe can be harvested from the Moon include titanium, magnesium, helium-3, silicone, aluminum, and much, much more. There are some pundits who state that lunar mining could happen as soon as 2025. Another reason that some are trying to get to the Moon to mine, as there is a legal loophole that can be exploited in the upcoming years to claim ownership of the Moon in certain ways. Mainly, though, private corporations. Whether this actually happens or not is unclear, but many, including the United States, Russia, and more, are aiming to start mining on the Moon as soon as possible. Number 7. Asteroids. One of the biggest things that humanity fears in terms of a life-changing event from space is that an asteroid is going to come down and destroy the planet's surface, like it did with the dinosaurs so long ago. However, in modern times, especially given the scope of space that we can now view, many scientists and researchers are looking at asteroids in a different light, mainly in that they could be mined for precious resources. So, aren't all asteroids and rocks in space just made of dirt and basic rocks, you might be asking? To an extent, yes. Most rocks are built upon the most basic of minerals, which is a big reason why a lot of meteors and meteorites burn up in the atmosphere upon reaching Earth. However, there is a sizable chunk of them both within the reach of Earth and out in the greater universe that are believed to not just have metals like iron, but also rare earth minerals like gold and platinum. Because of this, the last few decades have had plenty of discussions as to whether asteroid mining is feasible, profitable, and likely to help the planet or planets that we're on. If you're confused by that statement, many think that when we colonize Mars, that we'll use the nearby asteroid belt to harvest materials, and thus make construction of future colonies easier without having to travel back and forth to Earth. There are some severe problems with this belief, though. The main thing is that no matter how big or small the ship, journeying into space is a very costly endeavor. As a result, even going from Mars to the asteroid belt near it would be costly and problematic at best. What's more, it would be very hard at first to detect which asteroids would be right for mining, and how long it would take to get the materials we would need before sending them back to Mars. NASA is actually checking out a nearby asteroid that contains enough gold to make everyone on Earth a billionaire. Space mining is actually becoming a thing, and there could actually be a gold rush in space. The asteroid is Psyche 16 and is between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter. The asteroid contains platinum, iron, and nickel, as well as gold. Scott Moore, who heads up Eurosun Mining, said the sheer amount of gold in the asteroid threatens to throw the gold industry into chaos. NASA is launching a mission to probe the asteroid in the summer of 2022. Dubbed the Discovery Mission, it will arrive at Psyche 16 at around 2026. Meteorites are full of mysterious things, and you never know when one full of gold might just land on Earth. Number 6. Mars. If you were to list out all the things that humanity wishes to accomplish in the 2020s, one of the biggest things by far would be the colonization of Mars. Humanity has long dreamt of inhabiting another planet, and Mars, for at least the last decade or two, has been dubbed the best option in terms of fulfilling that dream. Various space agencies, including NASA and SpaceX, have plans right now to go to Mars and start building a colony there. However, this isn't just about colonizing another planet. It's also going to Mars to try and harness some of the vast mineral resources that are believed to be on the planet itself. But how can we know what's there when humanity itself has never landed on it? Two things have helped with this. First off, meteorites and asteroids have bombarded Mars' surface over the years, and chunks of that array of rock have landed on Earth. And when we found them, we were able to study them and see what they're made of. Magnesium, aluminum, titanium, iron, and chromium are relatively common in them. In addition, lithium, cobalt, nickel, copper, zinc, niobium, molybdenum, lanthanum, europium, tungsten, and gold have been found in trace amounts. It's quite possible that in some places these materials may be concentrated enough to be mined economically. Second, and just as importantly, we've sent numerous rovers to Mars to get samples of the planet and study them. The Mars landers Viking 1, Viking 2, Pathfinder, Opportunity rover, and Spirit rover identified aluminum, iron, magnesium, and titanium in the Martian soil. This could be a boon not just for the Earth, but also for those who end up living on Mars. Because should these materials be able to be mined near colony sites, it could help the growth of Mars almost exponentially. What's more, it would be able to limit the amount of supplies and aid needed from Earth, who would have to send out large amounts of materials to Mars without a sustaining supply. Ideas are already being put forth on how to go and mine Mars, and whether this should be part of an early colony attempt or not. Number 5. Diamond Planet. There is a planet out there in the stars known as 55 Cancri E, and it's something that's very special and very, very valuable. What sets this planet apart from the others is that it's a planet that is mostly a diamond. Yes, as in Earth-like diamonds, just on a much grander scale. The planet itself was once a star in a binary system, meaning 2 stars in the system, and eventually its partner star tried to devour it. The problem was that it couldn't because the star had carbon in it. For those who don't know, diamonds are formed under extreme pressure and time via carbon and other elements which this star had. So after the absorption failed, which caused a great amount of stress and pressure on the star, it became a diamond planet. Though not all of the planet is diamond. In fact, it's about 1/3 diamond, with other materials making up the rest. If you're looking to know why this is relevant, 55 Cancri E is 8 times the mass of our own planet. Add all that up and you get $26.9 nonillion worth of diamonds. And before you ask, yes, that is far more than our planet is worth by several leaps. And to get even a fraction of this amount of diamonds would make you rich beyond your wildest dreams. And if you're wondering why the Earth isn't already planning a trip to this planet when we get the chance, well, that would be because the planet is 40 light years away from us. Even 1 light year would be a very, very long and hard trip for us to make. Still, should the technology allow, we could potentially reach this planet. But whether we would be able to harness its wealth is another story entirely. Number 4. The Earth. It shouldn't be too much of a surprise that the Earth is one of the most valuable places in the universe, mainly because there is so much on this Earth that's valuable. Let's start with the obvious one, gold. Gold, as some people say, is what makes the world go round. And indeed, since its discovery by man, it's become one of the most precious metals and valuable metals ever. There are people all across the world today bringing out thousands and tens of thousands to millions of ounces of gold just right out of the ground you're walking on. You might have heard of some of the legendary gold rushes that came to North America over the years, but in truth, while they waxed and waned, they never really stopped. A great example of this can be seen in the Discovery Channel series Gold Rush, where modern-day miners are still pulling gold out of areas of Canada and Alaska. And one miner is even thinking about going to Australia, where they're consistently pulling out some of the most pure gold ever found out of the ground. Yet this is but one of many minerals that can be found in the ground that has extreme value. Diamonds are another very precious item that people love to collect and sell. Add that to stones like rubies, sapphires, emeralds, and more, and suddenly you have quite a set of stones to look out for. Yet that only scratches the surface of the value of the Earth. It would almost be impossible to talk about how much the Earth is actually worth, but some have tried to put a value on it, and some note that it's worth about $5 quadrillion, which would make it the priciest planet in our current solar system. Still, that likely only accounts for things like the minerals and elements that have comprised the planet, not taking into stock the people and animals that also fill up the world, and essentially make it a priceless thing. Not that some haven't tried to throw us into the price of the Earth, mind you. Plus, besides all of this, remember, we have drinking water too. Number 3. Titan. The moon known as Titan orbits Saturn, and believe it or not, it's considered by some to be an even greater place to colonize than Earth. One of the biggest reasons for this is because it has a much thicker atmosphere than Mars, and there's the fact that Titan has lakes that are literally filled with various gases, including natural gas. This was discovered by the Cassini space probe, who took many pictures of Titan and found out, much to the surprise of NASA, that the moon had hundreds of lakes filled with this gas. Natural gas is one of the biggest energy sources in our world, so being able to harness this in any way would prove very valuable. Or by harnessing it on the moon itself, it could power a colony for an incredibly long time. So just how much is there? Based on estimates, some of the larger lakes could hold 130 billion tons of natural gas, which alone, meaning one lake of this size, has over 31 times what the Earth has in terms of its natural gas reserves. Not to mention, there are some theories that the lakes are replenished via rain, or from the materials inside the moon itself, meaning it could be a cyclical thing, which would make the moon even more valuable. Number 2. Alcohol cloud. The value of an object often depends on the person looking at it, so I'm sure some of you will have your ears perked up when I note there are massive clouds of alcohol floating in space. This is not a prank or a joke of it being a small cloud not even worth the trip. There are massive clouds of drinkable, mostly alcohol in space. Discovered in 1995 near the constellation Aquila, the cloud is 1,000 times larger than the diameter of our solar system. That's enough ethyl alcohol to fill 400 trillion pints of beer. Yes, trillion is actually a real number. But before you go and try to harness this massive cloud of beer, you need to know a few things. First and foremost, the cloud is full of various other compounds that are not ethyl alcohol, including carbon monoxide, hydrogen cyanide, and ammonia. Furthermore, the cloud itself is 58 quadrillion miles away from Earth, which means it isn't likely we would reach it anytime soon. Another interesting fact is that this isn't the only cloud of alcohol in the universe. There are several. One of them is 288 billion miles in the W3 region of our galaxy and is made of methyl alcohol, which is the kind used in propellants and other items. While currently unreachable, their value if harnessed could literally be astronomical. Number 1. Stars. The sun, without a doubt, is the most important thing to Earth that isn't Earth itself. It provides us with light, it provides us with heat, and when we use it correctly, it can provide us with energy via solar power. That alone makes it a very valuable item. However, if you were to look at space itself, just about every sun and star out there is valuable in its own right. For without the right kind of star, living on a planet is impossible. Too close to a sun and we'll burn up. Too far and we'll freeze. And if we're not in the right habitable zone, we won't have the chance of water. So having the right kind of star near your planet is vital to live on it. But that's still not their only value. If you've heard of the concept of a Dyson Sphere, you know that potentially, in the very far future, we could harness a star to have a literal infinite amount of power. All we need to do is build a massive structure around the star to absorb and direct the energy. Plus, since stars last billions upon trillions of years, we wouldn't need to worry about them dying out on us while we're alive. Either way though, with all the stars in the universe, and each having their own value regardless of the planets around them, you could argue that they're the most valuable thing out there. Thanks for watching. Are you surprised by some of the compositions of these planets and space entities? Do you know of any other things in space that are maybe as valuable as the things that made this list? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe to World List, and I'll see you next time.